Example, at the end of the half against Auburn, it was a 2-minute situation where we scored.
Yeah. You threw it a bunch.
At the end of the half against Miami, we had a 2-minute situation. In the game the other night, we had a 2-minute situation. So a lot of that has to do with maybe how the game's going and the situations that present themselves in the game. I do think that most of the time, if you're behind or if you're in a situation where you're coming from behind and it's late in the game, sometimes you get put in that position. North Carolina, for example, we're down 2 scores for 2 possessions, I think. One of those, once you get down 2 scores, you have to throw the ball in that short period of time. So you throw it. We scored once and we got it back. I think we also had a possession before the end of the half. It was a 2-minute drive. So we threw the ball up late. I mean, those are just correlations with maybe how those games have gone. I've been around here where last year, obviously, we were very successful. We threw it more than 30-some. I mean, I don't know that off the top of my head, but when you're behind and you got to go score, you throw it more often. I think that's been the case this year in those losses in particular. But my opinion, we've got to rush it effectively and to be a winning football team around here. There's no feeling for me that it's any different. I'm trying to play to our personnel strengths and maybe what we have to do within the game. One of the things we did well against Florida State was when we got behind the chains, 2nd and long, we threw and caught the ball and got ourselves back to 3rd and short, 3rd and manageable. So the more you stay on schedule, the more options that you have, and you can continue to run it. But with Andre being hurt, and Jamie being who he is, and the type of back that he is, that dictates how you call the game as well. And Kyle's played some of his best ball as of late. And, we're just trying to do what we need to do to create some points. Nothing's changed in terms of my beliefs or anything. I think you got to show up every week, try to run it effectively. We did that last week. I think we were 4.5 yards a rush and had a good 3rd down plan and had a good 2nd long plan. But the things that disappoint me obviously are the red zone, miscues, the penalties. Those are things. Obviously, we'd like to make the kicks, but I'm trying to look at it from my standpoint, maybe what I can do better to help our team. So, you go back and look at every call, every scenario, and you look back, you do things differently. Hindsight's 20/20, but at the same time, we are who we are. We are where we're at. And we've got what we've got. We're doing the best we can, and we're going to keep competing. And one thing that we can promise is they're going to show up and compete, play hard. They're going to sell out and do what they're going to cut it loose and go play. I think the thing that disappoints me maybe are the penalties and turnovers. Those are things that are often coaching related, and that's what makes my stomach ache, is when you shoot yourself in the foot. And I'll take accountability for that. That's why I spend my time, ailing them out, I guess. But in terms of the type of plan we had and giving our kids a chance to win each week, and the way they play, how hard they play, how tough they play, those are things I think we've done. We don't quite have the speed dimension that we've had. We don't have the explosive. We had 400 yards offense with 4 explosives. That's weird. That's a little bit unusual. So, that's where we're at. It ain't went the way I would like it to go. That's for sure. Everybody knows that. But we got to go back to work every week's a chance to lay a brick on that foundation in terms of what we're trying to do here. One thing I am proud in terms of these kids is the way they've handled maybe the ups and downs, and they got themselves ready to play and went back and played hard each week. So we're doing a lot of things right, but obviously you look back and you say, hey, we could have did this or that, but that's what this game will do to you. And, we're going to go do our best to get them ready and go play this week and see if we can go win one.
You say you've been impressed with the kids. How hard is it for you personally when, as far as the psyche of a play caller, when you have these long drives that just doesn't work out quite as, you say it doesn't change the way you believe in your philosophy, but does any of that creep in? How you trying to call the game?
I think you probably, after it happens once or twice, you probably get a little more aggressive in terms of trying to create touchdowns, but I do think that you've got to call the game as if hey, if we have to kick a field goal, let's kick the field goal and make the field goal. So we did that twice Saturday. Cat Zero made the kick, and but the thing that objectively, looking at it objectively, we have to score touchdowns when we get down there. We've done that to some degree this year, but we've also stumbled and needed to kick some field goals. Early in the year we cashed those checks in and took our 3 and went to the next possession. And lately we haven't been able to do that. And Boston College in particular, our kids didn't handle it well in the last 2 weeks. In terms of their morale and their resiliency, they've handled it better and went back for more. So NC State, we were able to go create some touchdowns. We scored from outside against Florida State once, but other times we had to kick. And the thing that I'm going to try to do is my best job is making sure we got a great plan when that ball crosses the 25 and go to work on it. And hopefully the things that we can control, we'll control. And that's what I'm most concerned with.
Billy, with the game y'all got out of Jamie Harper, and going back earlier in the year, you got asked a lot of questions about why he was getting as many carries or more than Andre was. Was that sort of what y'all had been seeing out of him all along in practice, I guess, that warranted him getting that many carries?
Well, Jamie's a talented kid. He's a tough kid. He's a blue-collar kid. I'll put my name on him every day of the week. And he was very productive in the Auburn game. He was very productive if you think back about the type of game he had against North Texas and the passion he played with there. Saturday was a good example of the kind of kid he is and how hard he plays and how important it is to him to do his best for his teammates. So, obviously we'd like to handle Andre. I think everybody knows that, but Jamie is very capable of carrying the load and showed that. And we tried to kind of cater to his strengths and what he does best. And that was part of the plan. And he showed up and laid it on the line, and I was proud of the way he played.
Do you think it's any sense of, not that you don't want to have Ellington, but with Ellington not there, he may not be trying to be like Ellington, seeing those explosive plays and trying to hit the home run?
Right. Well, if you look back at that game Saturday, there's a lot of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-yard type plays. And that, we had a bunch of those. We had a ton of those. And that's where we're at. That's what we're dealing with. But he does catch the ball well, and he is good in space when he gets those opportunities and gets moving. And that's when he's at his best. We tried to cater the run game to the things that he likes and feels comfortable with. And, you try to be under center a little bit more for him, because that's where he's most comfortable. But those are the kind of things that you do within each week, given who you've got. When you had both those guys, obviously Andre was a different guy, and you built things to his strength. So No different than last year. You know, we have a group of skill players that we have, and we try to build the plan around those guys. And, with Jamie being the main back, we catered the plan around what he did best last week, and he proved to be pretty effective.
Dabo was asked about the play calling process today, and he said that basically his words were that he calls all the bad plays, but he calls all the good ones that gave you a lot of support. Can you kind of clarify what that's like? I mean, do you have autonomy, or is there like a veto process over the headsets there, or how does that generally work?
Well, I think it's like any program in America in terms of the input of the head coach, you know, and maybe things he's seen within the game and things that he's looked over the plan and knows our plan. But I call the plays, and I don't think it's any different than maybe it is at any school. I think you can ask anybody. Most head coaches have got input within each player, within each series, however they do it. There is some input from the head coach, and Coach Sweeney's an offensive head coach, and he definitely has input on our plan and within a game. So, but I call the plays, and you know, it's no different than it was last year when we were lighting the scoreboard up. You know, I mean, it's no different. So, you know, I think we've got a great relationship. Our staff understands how we do it and how we go about our business, and it's been effective at times. So we'll continue to do the way we have been doing.
The fade passes an example of you guys trying some different things.
Say that again.
The two fades to Brandon and to Newton, were those kind of an example of you guys trying some different things in the red zone, or was that as much a function of the coverage that they?
Well, I think given when those were in the game, you know, you get down there and obviously Hopkins had made a few plays at that point in the game, similar situations, and Brandon is a guy who's shown that's one of his strengths is going up and attacking the ball. So I think that's more a product of the personnel that you have, and you've had some red zone issues, and then you're trying to give the guys you feel best about going up making the play. I think that's basically what it's a product of that. You know, the hand you've been dealt and the personnel trying to pick and choose the best ways to create some points down there. So I think that's where those decisions came from.
When y'all do self-scout,